over me. She caught me with her hypnotic dance. She holds me here with only a glance. She's over me. She's over me. The claws in my heart, I can't let go, I'm breaking apart, controlling me, controlling me. And welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to tonight's episode of the Bedtime Stories from Beyond. I'm your host, Brent Thomas. This is our Paranormal Portal shorter versions, more digestible, bite-sized chunks of all that is the portal. And I hope you guys are having a great weekend. I hope you've had a great weekend. We had some great shows this last couple days, and we got a couple great ones lined up for next weekend already. Really exciting, going to be some great times, but we'll get into that a little later. But tonight we're going to discuss encounters with the Fae. And now the Fae have been a part of our history in some form or another since there's been a history for us to have. They've always been around, and the legends persist, and from different cultures separated by geography all around the world. Is there something to it? Well, we're going to see what we can find, but better get ready because it's about time for bed. All right, welcome again, and Haxer, that's awesome. Haxer in the chat room says, digestible, really? Make them longer and I'll take some Imodium. Well, I think, you probably end up getting oversaturated with me sooner or later if I just kept doing long block shows over and over and over and over. So, plus these are manageable to plan for throughout the week. So, it doesn't take me an awful lot of time to put shows together, which is good because I have a full plate with the 2-hour shows as it is and the rest of my life. So I hope it's okay, and at least it's something for the in-betweens. But the chat room's just filling up, a bunch of you in there. Thank you guys for being here. It's always amazing to me when you guys come in just because I put the stream on. It's just like, wow, they do love me. They really do love me. So anyway, tonight we're going to talk about the Fae, ladies and gentlemen, and as I said in the intro, it's something we know about through our recorded histories. Many different regions, many different understandings, many different explanations, but they all seem to have these little people, these little beings that appear and are sometimes mischievous, sometimes malevolent, sometimes benevolent, but they seem to be a part of our world. And what are they? Are they an offshoot of other nature spirits, as is the Fae, or whatever they might be defined as? Are they nature spirits and help to keep balance in nature, or are they something else? Are they just a different kind of being that seems to inhabit the same plane with us, or at least partially the same plane. It appears they can come and go as they wish, but I think that people dismiss these things too easily because they're the subject of fairy tales. Disney took over fairies, and there's cartoons and children's toys and nursery rhymes and books and such, and so it got kind of relegated to a child's whimsy. But people still encounter these things to this day. What are they seeing? What are people experiencing? Are they these little diminutive beings with wings, or are they understood to be many different things? A lot of people describe them as orbs. A lot of people describe them as creatures that don't look little sweet and cute at all. A lot of people describe them in a bunch of different ways. And are people all seeing the same things, or is there really that much of a diverse table of things out there that people just throw one title at? I saw a fairy. I saw a fairy. Well, are you sure? Did it introduce itself as a fairy? And so are these common terminologies the problem, that we're just getting, I saw something little, so it must have been a fairy. I saw some little person, so it must have been a gnome. And then there's so many different things in there. And it makes you wonder. But here's the thing. I really believe that there's a diverse multiculture of things that we are living around all the time, some of which may be seen or can be seen if they choose to be, and others of which we may never ever see. And perhaps they're walking around and through our homes all the time, and we just don't know. We just don't have any awareness of them outside of maybe, those physical sensations like, I don't know, it feels a little weird in here, the energy shifted, or what's that chill that just blew through? Maybe these are these other beings that we don't quite understand what they are, but we attribute them to spirits and stuff. We have a very limited lexicon of terms that we can throw at these things. And so oftentimes, if people experience, for instance, a lot of people think spirits are very predominant, and I believe that they are as well. But no matter what happens, something moved in my house, it was a spirit. I felt a cold chill, it was a spirit. Something tugged on my arm, it was a spirit. And so we throw these terms out there because they're just manners of definition that we know and that we can explain to others to help them understand what we experienced. But are they all spirits? Are they just some other manifestation of life that we don't really understand, but they kind of partially live within our realm? These are all possibilities, ladies and gentlemen. Now, the stories of the Fae, as I said, they have a strong history in Scandinavian legend, in Irish and Scottish legend, and in the United Kingdom, all the way down to Spain, into Germany, and into Asia has their own version. The Africas have their own version. South America has its own version. And no matter where you go, even North America has its own version of names that were given. In our case, it's mostly by the First Nation tribes that lived here for time immemorial. But we all have these different versions, and are they the same thing? Well, I don't know. But these are all points to ponder. But whatever they are, ladies and gentlemen, they appear to be here. They appear to be around us and taking part in our world to some degree. Now, it could be just that there are some people that are capable of seeing them and there are some people that aren't. It could be akin to, psychic ability. Some psychics can see spirits. They can talk to them, have conversations with them, and receive fluid answers. Others of us can't see them, so we need things like EVP recorders to try to catch some kind of response, or a flashlight test, or an EVP or an EMF meter or something that can be triggered to give us some indication of answer. So we all have differing abilities, so perhaps that's part of why there's so many different descriptions of these beings, is that people may be able to perceive them a little bit, but not in their true physical form, and so that's when they appear like these little colored balls running around, whereas, other people may see them as diminutive creatures with wings, and other people may see them as something else just because they interpret it different in their brains. All of these things are considerations, so I'm just throwing this whole idea on the table as a big platter, kind of a buffet of thought. And I don't know what you guys think of it, but I think it's all relative. and it's all relevant as well. But let's get into some of these stories and see what you guys think. Are these people encountering spirits? Are they encountering what we understand to be fairies or fae, or what do you think they are experiencing? Perhaps they're all just delusional, you know. I'm just throwing it out there. I'm not saying that. I don't believe that, but you never know. The first one is I really need some help in figuring out what I'm currently dealing with. I've never seen them, but my son Jay does. He's just using the initial J. Excuse me. One seems good and the other seems really malevolent or evil. My husband and I assume that they are light orbs or of some kind because our son's reaction to my husband's lightsabers is the same as to what he is seeing. He will usually focus on something that emits electricity, like the mini fridge or the smoke detector, and he will start to smile, or he'll grimace and then follow it all the way around, all around the room. The good one always makes him smile and laugh, and we believe it's green because when my husband shows Jay the green saber, he has the same reaction. The evil one will make him very nervous, and I believe it shocks him. When he sees it, he will reach out to touch it. Mind you, he's not touching anything at all, and as soon as he makes contact, he will wrench back and scream as if he's in pain. This happened today, and I saw what looked like a static shock charge come out of midair and make contact with his finger. He'll start to cry immediately if my husband turns on his red saber. So apparently the malevolent one is appearing as red, something to do with the color red. A week or so ago, my husband and I were home and had an odd experience. He was at the dining room paying the bills, and I was on the floor in the living room with Jay nearby, and we were playing with his little workbench that has musical notes, and it has shapes that light up and that he can hit down with a hammer. I noticed that he was really intently focused on something around the air conditioner, and I noticed the look on his face was of sheer panic. He started following whatever it was, and it appears it landed on one of the shapes because he held up the hammer and slammed it down. He smashed it. The second he made contact, a static noise came from his toy. It was super loud and high-pitched, and both my husband and I jumped, and my sons began to cry. It says sons, but I think it meant son. I've noticed a slight change in the energy flow of the house, maybe going about 3 months ago, but assumed it was just the ghost of a kitty who's taken residence with us. If anyone knows what this thing may be, or ways to get it to leave or to stop bothering my poor boy, let me know. Thank you so much. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure that. I know there are rituals forever to how to get rid of fairies or things that you can put up. Allegedly, I believe the fairies really don't like iron. So if you have a fairy issue, you believe you have a fairy issue, then having iron things hanging around will be agitating to them. And I think Sean actually correlated that as well. But I may be mistaken. I don't know. There's so many things floating through my head. It's hard to keep them all straight. But very interesting story. Kids see stuff. Kids see stuff. I don't know. I get a kick out of some of the ads that just pop up. It's like, really? What? There's a CPAP machine. Ad popped up on my screen. It's like my computer knows I snore or something. That's horrible. I get creeped out, ladies and gentlemen, by the way these ads just pop up. You can just be mentioning something to a friend, and all of a sudden you go back to your computer and there's ads for it. It's like, oh no, you're listening, you bastards. All right, here's the next one. Okay, this is not a ghost story as much as an experience that I cannot get any information about. I live 3 miles away from the Loughcrew Cairns. Where's this coming out of? Ireland. Okay. So Loughcrew, Lough, Crew, Crew, and then Cairns, Cairns. The cairns are megalithic structures originally built around 4000 BC as burial chambers, and myself and two friends took it upon ourselves lately to walk up to it, walk up it every or most days to lose weight, as the climb up to it is pretty steep. It's a really good workout, and when you get to the top, you have an overwhelming view of the country from one of the highest peaks. The days turned into evenings as our children would be in bed, and it was easier to get somebody to watch them for an hour or two when they were in bed, and the evenings get dark from about 8 o'clock, so by the time we hit the peak, it would be dark. We usually do two climbs, one in the evening, two climbs in the one evening, and we climbed in the dark. Although we brought torches, we would be a bit creeped out as it was an ancient burial ground, and also because we thought it would be a haven for creepy people like drug dealers or something, because it is pretty remote. Our fitter friend, I think they mean someone that's in better shape, would always show off by going 6 steps ahead of us and pant quietly to herself. The first night we went up, it was dark and we had our torches, and we got as high as the peak. We would always walk into the burial ground and do a lap around, and the only way you will know what it looks like is if you Google image Lofcrew cairns. They are 4 or 5 standing stones in circles, which were graves with a major one in the middle. We walked by the first of the group of the standing stones, and myself and my fellow unfit friend heard a loud male voice. It was loud, but whatever he said was absolutely unrecognizable. None of us were talking, and we turned to each other and asked what we thought he said, and we hastily said, "Hello?" After a couple minutes of explaining to our fit friend, who didn't actually hear it because she was about 8 or 10 feet in front of us, probably singing to herself in her own head, also being up that high is extremely windy, and we frantically ran down the mountain because we were just totally freaked out. The next day, it was a really beautiful day, and neither of us were working, so we said we could take on the mountain early and attempt to bring the kids, and we ended up carrying them the whole way up, which makes it a much better workout, I'm sure. Let's see. When we got to the standing stones, we had found flowers shredded in the stone circles with 3 or 4 smaller stone circles, obviously handmade inside the graves. The small stone circles were not in there the day before, as we climb it every day. These flowers and stones circles were in all 5 of them. My friend said, "Don't walk in them, as you're upsetting the fairies or disturbing the dead spirits." Does anyone know what these stone circles could possibly have been? I have no idea. That's very interesting, though, that these would appear along with shredded flowers, but I guess it kind of hits me as some kind of reverent display. Maybe that's, honoring the dead that are there, but I have no thoughts on that personally. I just think it's pretty bizarre. Very cool, though. The next one, ladies and gentlemen, is coming out of the Philippines. And these can be kind of tough, but I'm going to do my best. Sometimes these really foreign stories, especially from cultures that I'm not really familiar with, they have a lot of references that sometimes I don't understand. So, but the Philippines generally have been pretty friendly as far as their stories. India, on the other hand, uses a lot of terminology that I don't ever understand. So let's see what this one says. But I had an event that happened about 3 weeks ago, or 3 years ago, rather, during the months of 2012. This was actually submitted in 2017. And during this time, I decided to rent my own house somewhere within the vicinity of Up Village. It's UP Village. Where my work is, just 20 or 30 minutes jeepney ride. Jeepney? Jeepney ride away. I don't know what that means, but I decided to save time and money. During my first month, I was doing well, leading my own life, since it was my first time to live away from my family, and the comfort of living with your parents where everything is prepared, the food and meals and etc. before you leave to work and coming home. And I kind of enjoyed it being alone where I get to buy my food and from it says Carinderia, where there are many dishes to choose from. I don't know if that's like a cafeteria thing or what, but let's get to the scary part. It was one night where I just finished my dinner and it was around 9 p.m. And I was at the kitchen in front of the sink, and above the sink was a big window with metal grills and screens, and it was dark on the other side since it's a canal behind it. And I was brushing my teeth when suddenly I saw just outside my window a white thing floating quickly past my window. I didn't get a clear detail of the form since it was so quick, but I got a little scared because I thought it was a white lady, but quite small. I was a little bit shaky, and when I tried to challenge the thing for a fight, I shouted a little bit, telling it to show up again, and I will punch it hard. That'll do it. There you go. Winning philosophy there, I'm sure. I just finished brushing my teeth, and I sat down for a while, trying to shake it off in my head and forget about it, and I got over that night with a nice bit of sleep, and the days passed without anything unusual until that one night I finished all my night routines and retired to bed, and I slowly wake up from a bright light in front of me. My sight was still blurry, and I finally get the right focus, like a camera of our phone adjusting to the focus. And I just saw what it seems like a little doll wearing a white dress holding a wand, and it has butterfly like wings. It was small, 8 inches in length, and it was blonde, and the face was not clear to see, and it was floating right in front of my face, like 3 feet away. I can't move or even say anything, but I did all I can to be able to move my body, and it disappeared the moment that I gained movement. Then I sat there for a while to think about it and try to figure it out, but I was still sleepy, needed to go back to sleep, and I decided to lay on my side, and just as I was closing my eyes, my body again froze, and then I tell myself, here we go again. Then, just what I am expecting, a little boy carrying a balloon appeared in front of me, walking back and forth at the side of my bed. I was scared, but I just let it do its stuff while I was trying to gain movement. As usual, the moment I'm able to move, it disappears. Man, I sat down for a while, again looking at my watch. It was about 3 a.m., and I still have 3 hours to sleep, and I tend to ignore all these things and not let it affect my thinking and my life, so I was able to get decent sleep for those last 3 hours. I've had a couple of nightmares during my stay in that place, but not as bad as the above ones that I mentioned, and I decided to go back home and search for a new job. I still have more stories, but that'll have to wait for another day. Now this is interesting, ladies and gentlemen, because I here's what's occurring to me is that if something is preying on him and the traditional sleep paralysis, could it be projecting these images to try to make him calm? Like a little boy carrying a balloon is not a threatening sight. A little, 8-inch white blonde-haired woman with butterfly wings carrying a wand is not an offensive sight unless you don't like little dolls or whatever. But you know what I mean? It's like these appear to be gentle images, but are they mental projections in order to keep the person more at ease during whatever it is that's going on, whether it's something dark and malevolent feeding on his life force, but giving him pleasant imagery so he doesn't freak out, or is it something else? I don't know, but very strange. Those two images are very, very convoluted. They don't really have, well, the fairy one would kind of match what he saw move by his window, but the little boy carrying a balloon just seems like a random kind of thing. So I don't know what to make of that one. That's very strange. Again, I have no ability to authenticate any of these stories that I'm reading you. We just have to take them on face value. But if indeed this person is telling the truth, then it's a pretty interesting situation. It also occurred to me that in Hawaii they have their own version of these diminutive creatures, but they call them, I think Obake called them the menehune, and that's kind of their version of the fae. as far as I can tell, or something of the type, but or gnomes or whatever. But anyway, I think that about wraps it up, ladies and gentlemen. So I hope you enjoyed our bedtime stories from beyond tonight, and I hope you found some entertainment value in it, and I hope you guys have a great start to your week. Tomorrow's Monday. Not that I want to remind you, not that you need reminding, but I really hope you all have a wonderful week. But don't worry, I'll be back again tomorrow night for another Bedtime Stories from Beyond, and we'll see what we can get into then. But I love you all. Be good, be kind, be nice, take care of each other. And I'll be back tomorrow night, and we'll continue our journey even further into the paranormal portal. I'm kind of borrowing that from Behind the Veil. Even further beyond the veil. Even further into the paranormal portal. I don't know. It works. All right, guys. Thanks so much for tuning in and being a part of this. And please be sure to like the stream and, subscribe if you haven't already. But I'll be back tomorrow night, and we'll do it again. So we'll see you then. Make sure you're all ready for bed. Yeah, you'd swear it's the first time I've ever used this thing. Wrong scene. Dang it.